Women who dated older men as teenagers that now realize they were predators. What's your story? My first boyfriend was 22 years old. I was probably 13 to 14 something. He was very controlling. The kind that tells me I'm not allowed to say no if he asks anything. He used to ignore me for days and not reply to me, and very often made me send him nudes, and I really hated it. But I wasn't allowed to refuse, or he would go find a girl who would satisfy him, a true woman. And I didn't see anything wrong at the time with this, but at least I didn't have sex with him even though he suggested that. Now I'm 21, and when I look back and think about it, I just feel so much shame and burden. And just ask myself why, and wonder, didn't he see that I was a freaking child? And I get filled with sadness. And I feel like that happening in such a young age really contributed to things I have done and hate. All I can take from this is to be careful in the future and make sure it won't happen to my own kids. Now I'm 21, and when I look back and think about it, I just feel so much shame and burden. And just ask myself why, and wonder, didn't he see that I was a freaking child? And I get filled with sadness. And I feel like that happening in such a young age really contributed to things I have done and hate. All I can take from this is to be careful in the future and make sure it won't happen to my own kids. Of course he could see you were a child. I wish there was something I could say to take those feelings of shame and burden from you. All I can say is you were just a kid, and all the shame and burden should be on his shoulders, not yours. I hope one day you can forgive yourself for anything you've done that you hate. None of it defines you. I think you're awesome, and your kids, or future kids, if you're not a parent yet, are super lucky to have you looking out for them. I was 15 and definitely didn't understand a thing about love or danger. I found out that he was married and had a child because he literally disappeared, and I was trying to find out what happened. OMG, that's crazy. I'm sorry you got preyed on like that. I was 11 and he was 23. We didn't date. He had a girlfriend, but he would sex me and send me nudes. Eventually I realized it was strange and blocked him. Didn't tell anyone about it. I sometimes wonder if it's impacted me more than I would care to admit. I had a similar thing. He was 19 and I was 11. And he would always ask me for nudes, but I never sent them cause I knew it was wrong deep down. I finally got the courage to tell my friends a little while ago. Also, happy cake day, edit. Thank you all so much for the upvotes and the kindness. I really hope everyone who has been through a similar situation is doing good. Stay strong. My mother found older boys to introduce me to when I was 15 over 16. She would take me to coffee shops or sneak me into bars and charm her way with men in their 20s, only to introduce them to me. I would date them, and she would get chores done around the house that she needed. Painted kitchen, fixed cabinets, roof work, stuff like that. I remember my best friend's mom trying to warn me and explain to me why it was wrong of my mother to let her 15-year-old date 25-year-olds. But I just thought I was really cool. It wasn't until one of them found me online and reached out a few years ago that I realized what she'd actually been doing all that time. And of course, none of these guys knew what the fuck they were doing, so the house looked like shit anyways. That is so fucked up. Yeah. But she laughed anytime I would bring it up to her. It was like a sport to her. WTF. That's awful. Fuck her. I don't know why. I don't remember watching anything or being around anyone that would influence me to do this. But I used to, at the age of 12 to 14, send nude pictures of myself to older men. I would go on chat sites and offer up these pictures of myself. I never met up with any of the people I sent pictures to, and I still, to this day, don't know why I did it. To this day I think about older men taking advantage of me, and I don't know why I always go to that place. I don't think I was abused. If I was, I don't remember it. You described the same exact thing I did when I was younger and exactly how I feel now. Kind of feel emotionally checked. It's really pretty crazy how many women are applying saying they did the exact same thing. I always thought there was something wrong with me, but it's almost comforting to know a bunch of us were going through the same thing. I was 16. A school teacher of 30 years used to touch me and text me stuff. I didn't really realize it was bad until some years later when he married a girl from my class. I didn't tell anyone because I was scared that people would think that it was my fault. That exact experience, except he had sex with me 2 days after I reached the age of consent in my state. I eventually got him fired. Mom reported him when I was suicidal, and everyone in the school turned against me because he was the most popular teachers. It was terrible. I'm sorry that you had to go through that, and I hope it doesn't affect your life too much now. Hey, the same thing happened to me. I was groomed by the most popular and influential teacher at school since I was 15. In a year he made it look like he was tutoring me for university so I could come to his place 3 times a week after school. We would watch movies and kiss after. He had sex with me literally 2 days after I graduated high school, so he was technically in the clear. Although he made me give him blowjobs prior to that. Every time that happened, I had to run to the bathroom to throw up. I used to think I'm allergic to sperm, when in reality it was just response to trauma. All this time the guy was married. To the lies, the time spent around his wife. It all fucked with my head so much. I was jealous, ashamed and depressed all the time. Then she dumped him for another guy and I ended up moving in with him. We lived together for a year and a half until I could finally break up with him after a violent fight where I had to run for my life out of our apartment building late at night in one shoe. I don't know what he would have done to me if I didn't manage to lock the door behind me to slow him down. It was like a horror movie. I was 15 when it started, 18 when I ran away. He was 34 by the time it ended. 4 years this experience lived on the fringes of my memory. I just didn't want to think about it at all. But recently more of it has been surfacing. I realized what happened wasn't my fault or lapse of judgment. I was insecure, naive and inexperienced. I never even kissed a guy before. I was manipulated, groomed and used by the person I trusted and looked up to. I'm so mad at my parents and teachers for looking the other way and not intervening. I recently looked the guy up. He's gotten a country award as the teacher of the year and is mentoring younger professionals. I'm just disgusted and grieving my younger self. OMG. You did not deserve any of this. It breaks my heart. Sending you virtual hugs. Thank you. This month has been tough with all these memories rushing back and me finally realizing it wasn't my fault. All these years I lived with so much shame and sorrow thinking I made that choice. But I was 15 and lonely. I trusted him. I had no choice. Unfortunately that experience had drastic negative impact on my life and relationships after that. I'm 34 now, and I feel like I'm just starting to untangle this mess and assess the damage. I just want adults to never let things like this happen. I'm always watching out for teenagers these days. They're so vulnerable and lonely, the easiest target